Welcome to the game of real estate. I'm your host, Jason Rash. I'm taking you on my journey from $0 to $100 million in real estate sales. Let's go. Welcome back to the game of real estate. I am your host, Jason Rash. And before I get into the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today, I've got my beautiful marketing expert in the house, my beautiful wife, Brooke Rash.
Hi, what's up? So we are going to be talking about what to know before moving to South Florida, the Palm Beaches, Southeast Florida, more specifically. And I had the idea for this episode because we actually moved here almost 3 years ago now from Colorado. And I was just like Dr. Google over there, just like, like everything. I looked at everything from Miami all the way up to Jupiter, Florida, which is about a 90 to 100 mile stretch. I knew nothing about South Florida other than, you know, Miami's where the cruise ships go out of. I had no idea where we were going to land. So Jason is going to be covering a lot of ground in this episode, just some basic things that you should know before pulling the trigger and investing in South Florida, because anything you buy down here is for sure an investment.
Oh, yeah, for a fact. So just before I dive into this, can I need your permission on something. Can I go into the weeds of some of the stuff here? If I get too far into the weeds, be like, come on.
I will let you talk about the taxes. How about that?
Let's come back out. That is one of the biggest questions I get.
I'll talk about the fun stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest questions I get. So the thing about South Florida that you got to know, this area is a beast. We're gonna be talking about Palm Beach County. Christian, our studio producer in the house. Christian, can you pull me up a map of Palm Beach County just so that people can see? Inside this county, what I want you to think about is you have a sliver of land. You have natural barriers. So this is what gives people land value. So whenever I have people that come down here and they've never been here before, or they have geographically, they don't understand everything, I want you to think about one thing. You have the ocean on one side and you have the Everglades on the other side. Now, with that said, it leaves a small sliver of land for people to live in. This is what makes the land valuable. You can only build so far out in that ocean.
Also, it does not snow here, okay?
Yes.
As we are recording today on January 23rd, 2025, Florida just got like 8 inches of snow in the panhandle. So if you want to move away from ever having a chance of there being snow, you need to move down here because there will not be snow in this area. Yeah.
It may come close, but it won't be snow. So if you pull this up,
it's not coming close.
Can you zoom in for me, Christian, here?
We're not getting snow down here. That's why I moved down here. That's why the panhandle was not on my radar.
There you go. So Christian, you can't zoom in. That's okay. Don't worry about it. So basically what you're looking at in this square here on YouTube is the fact that like you have the ocean on one side and Everglades on the other side. And right where you see that far blue line, that is about the extent of where people live. You can go ahead and take that off the screen if you want to. But what I want you to think about in this moment is this is why Florida is so expensive. So many people are like, why is it so expensive down there? It doesn't snow. And everybody's bunched together on a sliver of land. Now, here's what I want you to think about. There's 1.9 million people just on this small sliver of land. The sliver of land is about 40 miles from the ocean all the way out to the edge of the Everglades of where you can build. It's about 40 miles at its widest point. But for majority of it, it's like 12, maybe 15 miles. And that's the real kicker here is that we're all shoved in here. And this is why traffic is a little insane here. But what we want to talk about is I want you to know about this stuff because the biggest questions that I get, I'm going to be fielding those here in this podcast. So first of all, like anything else in real estate, it's all about location. I can make a rap song out of that. Just
please don't.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Eminem kind of killed my dreams of being a white world-renowned white rapper.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that wasn't what it was, but okay.
It was.
Anyhow, let's talk about location.
Okay.
Get into it, babe.
Yeah, you got it. So location. So the strictly where you want to be is you want to be east of 95 because that's where you're going to get the coastal breeze. But the majority of business and commerce and areas are going to be on the east of 95. To the west of 95, you are going to get more for your money, but the trick is the coastal breeze starts to die down and the bugs get much bigger. So where we're at right now, we don't have a lot of mosquitoes. That's one question that I get from some people. You guys got a lot of mosquitoes down there. Where I'm at on the east of 95, and don't get me wrong, listen, I'm not into conspiracy theories like my wife is. She's really into conspiracy theories, but I do believe that there is something to why they put the interstate where they put it. West of 95, the bugs get much bigger and the mosquitoes come out.
Critical thinking Not conspiracy theorist.
Okay.
Okay. I don't believe everything I'm told. So there's that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Fair enough. And we'll leave it at that. So if you want to be in the beach, or if you want to go to the beach, because as Floridians, we go to the beach every single day. You want. That's probably the biggest conspiracy theory right there.
It's been months since I've been to the beach, actually, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. But if you want to be close to the beach, you want to be east of 95. Also, if you buy a property, you really want to have a water view, or you want to be on golf. If you want something that's going to maintain its value and continue to rise, you're going to want golf, a view, or you're going to want to have water view. And that could be like a lake, it could be a pond, it could be a preserve, whatever. You can have both. And the thing to remember this is every city has its own vibe. We're going to talk about a couple of these cities as we scroll up here. The first one, we're going to start at the south. So if you don't know where everything's at, just focus for a moment. Pull that map up real quick for me. Just go to Google real quick, Christian. Go to Google. I want because I want to take this from the basics. Most people just know where Miami's at, and they know where Disney World is, and they don't know where anything is in between. And that's okay. I don't fault you for that.
We're in that in-between spot.
Yeah, we're in the in-between spot. So, and by the way, Orlando does still get snow, just throwing that out there. And so does the Panhandle. But if you think about this for a moment, and you have Orlando and you have Miami, as Christian pulls
I think it
this up.
hasn't snowed in Miami since 1972, if I'm not mistaken. It was it was before you were born.
Yeah.
So the chances of snow down here are very slim, just so you know.
Yeah, so it's not going to snow. Yeah, just give me go to Google Earth.
That was the biggest driving factor for us when people ask why we moved here is the weather. I was tired of seasonal depression. I was tired of months on end without seeing the sunshine. Sad is a real thing. And sure, it gets cloudy here in the winter and you might have a little drizzle, but it's nothing like having to endure a Midwest winter or a Northeast winter or anywhere where you're getting blanketed with snow.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, what do we got? Okay, so we got this map here. Can you zoom in? Do you have the capability to zoom in, Christian? All right, zoom in, go down, go a little lower. I'm going to be a Petrobet David. A little lower, a little lower, a little lower. That dude's got hundreds of millions of views, so if I say what he says, zoom out where I can see Jupiter and I can see Miami. Perfect. All right, so you have Miami down here at the bottom.
You have this metro area, basically.
Yeah,
this white
metro.
area
And all the green stuff, as you can see, it really is a sliver of land compared to the overall relative of Florida. So at the bottom, you have Miami down there. And as you come up, you have Fort Lauderdale. Can you zoom in a little bit for me, Christian? Zoom in. Yep, you have Fort Lauderdale. And as you come up, you've got Pompano Beach. I know my area as well because I can't read any of the stuff that he's got on the screen, if I'm being honest with you. There it is. So the first one that we're going to pull up, so basically where we're at is we are north of Miami. Palm Beach Gardens is north of Miami, about 50 miles. And in traffic, it takes you about 2.5 hours to get from Miami to where we're at up here in the Palm Beach Gardens.
90 miles, babe.
90 miles, excuse me. So, when I first moved here, I thought it was just I can zip down there and I'll be on the interstate, just a few exits. So I want to talk about how every city here is a little different. We got Deerfield is the very first city. Now, Deerfield, it's a really cool community. I just sold an Airbnb here, and it's one of the only, if not the only, subsets left other than West Palm Beach that will allow you to have an Airbnb. We're going to talk about Airbnbs later in the episode, but I want you to know that entire cities have come through like Boca and will not allow a single Airbnb, even retroactive ones, like ones that have been Airbnbs for years. They're getting them out. Like, hey, look, you got to cancel this thing. You got 1 year. We're gonna start fining you $1,000 a day. It's insane. But what it is, yeah. So you got Deerfield Beach. This right here is a working class, blue collar, 1960s beachy community. There's not a lot of high rises, it's low rises, but it's beautiful. People love it because it brings a sense of wholesomeness to people. I would say it's almost back before the time of social media and mobile phones. It's kind of stuck in that era. Now, that's the flavor of it, if you will. The next one we've got coming up.
That's where you're going to have the Airbnbs.
Yeah, that's
because you can't have the Airbnbs in Boca. So if you want to be near Boca, like your client who lives in Boca and wanted to have a rental that her family could come and stay at as well, it has to be in Deerfield. So that's why we're talking about Deerfield, is because it is short-term rental friendly. Yeah, and people can walk to the beach. It's a little area called the Cove. And these homes right here, I'll tell you for an example, I sold one. It was for $937,000 and it pumps out about $185,000. I think $155 actually, now that I think about it, in gross revenues, which, that's a cash cow. It's a great property, but that's the area that people are doing a lot of Airbnbs in. It's a transition community. You ready? You want to go north? Yeah, we're actually broadcasting from Boca Raton. You may have heard of it. I think it was first made famous through Seinfeld all those years ago. Yeah. I think it was George's family that lived in Boca. But yeah, do you have a photo of Boca? Yes, there we are. We're broadcasting here we're in Meisner Park, right? Yep. Okay, we're in Meisner Park. What would you say the flavor of Boca is?
I would say there's a lot of
I want to ask Christian.
Oh, go ahead,
he works
Christian.
Here. What would you say your honest like opinion of like the flavor of Boca?
I'd say very high end, expensive area. I'm from Ohio, if you don't know, so that's kind of my assessment. I don't know much about other demographics,
Sure.
as far as that goes, but yeah, very very high end, pristine houses. Yeah.
A lot of doctors here.
Yeah,
Lawyers,
a lot of doctors, a lot of money here in Boca, I would say.
We actually lived in Cincinnati for 7 years. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
Yeah, where are you from in Ohio?
I'm from Cleveland.
Okay, so
There
a
you
little,
go.
further
Ooh,
north.
That place is
A
brutal,
little
dude.
further north.
Cold.
I used
Minus
to,
10 yesterday.
bro, I used to travel all the time, and let me tell you, I don't know who the guy was who planted that flag and said, we're making our home right here, and we're going to call it Cleveland. Maybe it was John Cleveland. I don't know. I don't know the history of it. But somebody planted a flag there and said, we're building a city here. And every time I've been, it's either rain, snow, hellfire, winter, rain, snow, hellfire, winter, rain. And lots of wind. A lot of wind. So I don't know who, but a shout out to all you people in Cleveland that follow us. I love you. Come down to South Florida because, hey, listen, it doesn't snow here. Just throwing that out there.
I think, and we're going to go through this list, but I think really the best way to figure out where you should land if you're thinking of moving here or getting a second home is to come down and check it out.
Yes.
Go and check out these pockets of places because what we like, you might not like. Like, yeah, we can tell you our opinion. Like, this is where we landed. This is why we like it. Like, I have friends that live in Boca. I would never personally live here. I like that we're close enough that we can drive down here and we can record, and we have like other business things, happening in Boca. It's a little too busy for me, but it's closer to the action, so it really just depends on what you are looking for.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's keep traveling north. We'll go up to
Okay.
Delray. Delray and Deerfield are like first cousins. When I first moved here, I got these two cities mixed up. But this is more like a 1975, 1980s beachy community. Christian lives over there in Delray. There's not a lot of high rises. It's not known for like soaring skyscrapers and condos like down in Miami, like Sunny Isles or anything like that. As you can see right here on this photo, right? It's all a low-rise buildings, like they want to keep that beachy 1980s feel to the place. And that's about the best description that I have. I would say that these are, there's not a lot of high-end net worth people that live there. There's not a lot of people making $50 million a year or worth $50 million.
It's a younger demographic.
Yeah, it's a younger demographic. I'd say probably influencers. Every time that we went out, we were
the old people.
We were the old people. Yeah. We were the old people in the community. I walked by. We were sitting out there at that taco place. I'll never forget these women walking by, and they're probably 19, 20 years old. And I was like, your father let you out the house wearing that. Like, that's
how you know you're old.
That's the type of community. I think you guys have a community there. There's a spot called Pineapple Cove. Grove. Pineapple Grove there. It's great. It's
Pineapple Cove. You mean Pineapple Grove.
Pineapple Grove, right? I'm phonetically challenged over here. But it's a great spot if you want to go grab dinner there. They got great tacos.
Oh, yeah. It's like great for nightlife and going out for dinner, but it's definitely a younger vibe. And that's okay because the young kids got to have a place to be too, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to be the old person up in the club. I'm just being honest. I remember that one time I went to a nightclub and I was just like, whoa, I'm the old dude up in here. I'll see you guys later. Bye. I was like, I'm out. I'm outie.
Honey, I hate to break it to you, but you're going to be the old guy in any club unless it's Costco.
Unless it's a golf club, let's go. I'm going to be the young guy.
We'll talk about that as we're working our way up the coast. So next up we have West Palm Beach, which I think is in a lot of a transition.
Yeah.
It's kind of being gentrified, if you will. It's an urban area, but they're cleaning it up and they're doing a lot of building and there's a lot of sky rises going up.
Yes.
It's also directly across from Palm Beach Island, which is where all of the billionaires live. Like that's where Mar-a-Lago is. That's where Donald Trump lives. There's a lot of other, people that have very high net worth that live on Palm Beach Island. But West Palm Beach is directly across from Palm Beach Island.
Yeah, I would call it the new New York. Other than Miami, it's the second financial area of South Florida.
That's where the Brightline station is. That's where Pura Vida is. There's a lot of shopping there.
High density. It's a lot of people living in a very, very small area. Again, you got to remember, you have water as those natural barriers, so the only place to go is up. So a single family home is going to be like the most coveted of coveted pieces of
Sophia, for example, like she's living in West Palm, one of our friends, and she actually came up to where we're at in Palm Beach Gardens, which we'll talk about shortly. And she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe how much more you can get for your money here," because they're living in like an 800 square foot condo and it's like $5,000.
Yeah, it's like little
a
New
month.
York.
So it really, again, it just depends on what you want. If you want to be in the center of all the action, because there's a lot of activities
Absolutely.
in West Palm. I like going down there on Saturdays sometimes to the farmers market. I will say if I'm just going for food, I'm not going there, but I'm going for the experience. Like if I want to shop, like there's all kinds of pop-ups. Like you could buy literally everything at this farmers market that they do during season from October to May down in West Palm. They have races. Sometimes I'll go down there. There's 5Ks. There's like yacht shows, boat shows. There's always something going on in West Palm Beach. You've got the Kravis Center there where they have stand-up and they have plays and they have like the Cirque du Soleil, like you name it, they have it. We saw Aladdin there a couple of years ago.
Like, it's huge. But oddly, there is no beach access.
No, but there's waterfront though. So I don't know if you had that up on Google of West Palm Beach, but the way that it is, it's like right along the waterfront. So that was what our friend was saying she likes about being there. It's like you can walk or you can run, you can, like someone at the door. Sorry, that threw me off.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
You can push your kid in the stroller, although it's not like super family friendly, if you will.
But it's a walkable community.
It's young professionals. I feel like a lot of like young professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. Young professionals, finance, but again, there's no access to beach. You got to go out on Palm Beach Island. And by law, I just want to throw this out here. By law, they made it like the beach preserve or the ocean preserve. They made it where there is public access to beaches out there. Now, parking in West Palm Beach is very challenging. You're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to ride around quite a bit till you find something on the street, if not into a parking deck. So keep that in mind.
Also a good place for Airbnb. That was where you sold that one Airbnb. Yeah. And there's so many cute Airbnbs there because a lot of women like to go there for bachelorette parties. West Palm Beach is a very popular bachelorette destination.
Yeah, you want to pull up that Airbnb real quick. Go to 337 Orange Way. Pull that up real quick on Google for me. 337 Orange Way. It doesn't matter. Google will take you right to it. Now, this Airbnb is in West Palm Beach. It was a fantastic Airbnb, as Brooke says. This is by the way, like I said before, you have Deerfield. That is great. There it is right there. Click on one of those pictures. Can you put that on the full screen for me and make us on the side bin? Christian? Yep. That's perfect.
Jason's just tripping all over his words.
It's okay.
Today.
Scroll all the way up. Yep. Make that first picture huge. Yeah. So that is the house that I sold in. This is an Airbnb, by the way.
That was a really fun house to market, but that's the vibe of West Palm Beach.
Yeah, it's very coastal. It's modern. It's upscale. It's this property, like I said, is $1.3 million, 1,200 square foot. So like I said,
tiny.
It's very, very tiny, but it pumps out a lot of money. People want to be in West Palm Beach, and also let's just call it like what it is. The fact that it has West Palm Beach in the zip code, that's going to increase the property value just dramatically. People want to see something like that on their zip code. So, and
again, that's part of that revitalization. There's a lot of like new builds and stuff going on in West Palm, like a lot of tear downs and rebuilding happening there.
All right. Next we have up on the list, Palm Beach Gardens. This is where we live. I love this area. It's 40. I would say, Brookie, that this entire area is 40 plus up professionals.
Yeah. I mean, you have some younger people there, but it's
majority.
Average. I mean, it's not like not a lot of 20-year-olds running around for sure.
They can't afford it.
It's a little bit of an older demographic. I think what sets Palm Beach Gardens apart from everything south of it is I didn't even realize this. Remember this conversation that we were having when we were looking at a map of a neighborhood, and I said, there's so much wasted space over here. They left all this green space like they could have built, and that's when you told me, what did you tell me?
I said that they have to leave a certain percentage of green space. That's either lakes, it's trees, it's grass area, open area, like the city requires. I want to say it's like 31% has to be an open area. That's can be like lakes, so they use lake for like retention. They use the green space for dog parks, and then they have the trees and stuff. Like they count every single inch as part of that.
So when you're looking at the map, like that we were looking at, like from Miami all the way up to Palm Beach Gardens, you'll notice, like even here in Boca, it's just a grid. It's like New York City. It's just like streets. There's not a lot of green space. But when you get up to Palm Beach Gardens, that's the reason that they call it Palm Beach Gardens, which I didn't know, is because there is so much green space. And so I didn't realize why. I was like, I just like this area better. I'm not sure what it is. And then I realized when you said that, like, oh my gosh, that's why I like it better, because there's more like greenery. Like there's more just like land.
It's not gridded streets either. Like, so like whenever you're down south, like everything's gridded. Like it's just grid streets.
First Street, Second Street.
Yeah, where these are. Yeah, and it's like 17th, 1 Northwest 76th Street. I'm like, how did you guys like even find this spot? I mean, like, why do you call it South Iguana Street or North Iguana Street, right? No, I mean, like every time I go down to Miami, it's like 107 Southwest Northwest 10th Street. I'm like, what?
It's so confusing.
What? Like, we sold that house on one. I think the house that I sold in Deerfield was like 1411 Southeast 7th Court. I'm like, who names this? Why was it not like a normal street, like Beachside Road or something? Maybe I was taken. But you're exactly right.
Palm Beach Gardens.
Palm Beach Gardens is more serpentine streets that have cursed.
So I feel like we can speak more on Palm Beach Gardens because we live there. And again, this is what we're covering is very high level. Like, I think you could do an in-depth episode for, each area.
Sure.
Or the areas you really want to focus on. But this is high level. But Palm Beach Gardens, I like it because we have everything that we need.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're near the beaches.
Yeah.
We're near a great mall. We're near a great Whole Foods.
Yeah.
You've got all the shopping and amenities that you need. You have a wide variety of housing from, listen, if you're going to get anything under $500,000, it's going to be crap. Like, just, like, if you really want something that's decent, you're looking at 750, 800 and up. Really $1 million plus to get something that, like, I would want to live in. I have taste. What can I say? But you have everything that you need, but it's not as crowded. There's not as much traffic, although it is growing for sure. But you're close enough to the action. So for us to pop down here to Boca is what, like 45, 50 minutes?
Yeah.
For us to get down here, another
20 minutes to West Palm.
Another 45 minutes to get to Miami if we, want to get to Miami, which we're going to Miami tomorrow. So I personally like where we're at for those reasons. Oh, and it's the golf capital too.
Yeah, so like Jupiter and Palm Beach Gardens, they kind of merge together. But I mean, inside Palm Beach Gardens, you've got PGA, like home of the PGA National. It's in Palm Beach Gardens. I mean, it's like, what more do you need to know? They have some beautiful courses. You've got North Palm Beach Community Golf Course. It's great. Country Club is what it is. North Palm Beach Country Club, I would say. You've got Juno Beach. You've got like one of the only dog-friendly beaches from Miami to up to coast. I mean, it's a great spot. You're 7 minutes from the beach. So yeah, everything you said. And there's not high rises there. It's low rises. Ideally, I don't want to live in a high-rise area. I just don't. Like, it's just traffic upon traffic upon traffic. I love the fact that it's low density and we can move there. So Jupiter.
It's like the suburbs, really. Yeah. It's like the burbs.
Yeah. So like, if you think about it like this, so Palm Beach Gardens is here. Jupiter sits right on top of it. There's just a road that connects those two together. They're very close. And over there, you've got like Admiral's Cove. You've got the Bears Club where Michael Jordan lives. Admiral's Cove is where Donald Trump Jr. lives. You've got a lot of wealth condensed into one area inside these, I would say, exclusive communities, to be honest with you.
Very, very exclusive. You have a lot of high end. I mean, listen, you've got high end down in Boca, too.
You do.
For sure.
It's
just we don't live here, so we don't know as much about the area. Like, your focus in selling real estate is really Palm Beach Gardens and Jupiter. Like, that's really your area. But again, we didn't know anything about South Florida when we moved here, so that's why we're just kind of going high level. This is what this area is about. This is what this area is about.
I would say that Jupiter was a beachy sleep town, like a sleepy beach town, like 15 years ago, and now it's just like Billionaires Row. Like, there's so many billionaires moving into like Admiral's Cove.
Or multimillionaires.
Yeah,
like
multimillionaires.
Nick Saban just got a house on Jupiter Island. Tiger Woods lives over there. Celine Dion used to live there. Kid Rock's
the guy from Metallica, the bass player Jason Newsted. Shout out to you.
Yeah, so you have a lot of people that have a high net worth who are living in that area.
That's right. So I mean, it's Jupiter's transforming. It's turning into an area of influence and multimillionaires. So it's changing literally as we're talking about this. So those are the locations. Location. Every city has a vibe, but I personally like where we live just because it's not so in the action. It's great because I want to be in bed by 9 o'clock.
But it's close enough. I mean, it's like there's it's close enough.
Yeah.
And it's not like dead. Like, no, there's not. There's not nightlife, but there's people there that you vibe with, that you can do stuff with. You meet up for coffee, you go to dinner with. Like, there's plenty of great restaurants, plenty of good shopping. Is there better shopping further south? Yes, absolutely.
You like the Aventura Mall.
Listen, the Gardens Mall is good, but Aventura Mall is definitely better.
Next level. You can buy a $6,000 person there. I would say this
you
is
can get that in Palm Beach Gardens too.
Yeah, that's true.
I haven't bought a $6,000 purse though. Maybe whenever you sell a $10 million property.
There we go. There is that.
I'm just kidding. like expensive purses aren't really my thing.
I think the thing that we're trying to say is like it's a lot like having a grandbaby. Not that I would know anything about that because I don't have grandbabies yet, but it's like you can always give it back and walk away and go through your own life. Like, oh, I love you so much, I'm gonna sugar you up. Okay, I'm done. That's the way it is. So like where we live.
That's how you feel about Miami?
Yeah, I can go down there. I can get sugared up on Miami. I can get sugared up on the high and everything
good
else.
food in Miami.
Some good food. Oh, there is some good
ceviche,
food there.
I still have dreams about that ceviche at the
it's
Betsy
good.
Hotel.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good ceviche. But I can get all ceviche'd up and then okay, I'm done. I'm done. I've had my fill. Here you go. Have it back. I'll be back in 2 months. That's the way I like it. Okay, let's dive into what we can get here. So
I'm gonna let you get into the weeds on this.
Yeah, I'm going to dive into the weeds. So a lot of the questions that I get whenever it comes to real estate is what type of properties do you guys have down there? It's basically three different things. You have condos, you have townhouses, and you have single family homes. Now, right now, currently in this market, condos are not selling that rapidly. Like they're actually sitting on the shelf more, mainly because, ouch, I just touched this thing on my ear the doctor put in. That hurt. Mainly because what it is the, sorry about that. I got a little distracted. There's not a lot of differentiation between the 7th floor and the 9th floor. And somebody may have paid $780 for a condo and now they're trying to sell it on the 9th floor for like a $1.5 million. There's just not a lot of difference. So it doesn't really justify the price. So condos, unfortunately, are sitting right now. I would not think those are a great investment. The second thing is townhouses. Townhouses are great. Like I love townhouses in this area, mainly because number one, a lot of the way the townhouses are built, they have concrete walls in between the neighbors. Now, I know like if you've ever lived in an apartment, you don't want to hear somebody on the other side playing video games and on the other side of you having sex. I totally get that. It's crazy, especially in the middle of the day after you get back from church. You don't want to hear all that stuff. But the townhouses in Florida are built a little bit differently. And this is why so many people rave about Florida real estate being so expensive. It's because we're going to talk about the construction standards, but it's because they're actual concrete walls. So where we live.
I think you missed on the condo, so I think you need to hit back. You jumped ahead to the townhouses a little too fast.
Yeah.
Talk about why condos aren't moving right now is because of the hidden fees, right? Like the cost that come with condos.
I was actually going to talk about that in the next section, but I can address that now. So a lot of condos are having assessments. Unfortunately, we had the Surfside accident here happen a few years ago, and that changed the game for everybody. All of a sudden, the state came in and said, hey, listen, all you guys, we're having all these tests done and then assessments. So an assessment is, hey, we took out X amount of dollars from all the people, and we have a reserve of, let's say, $2 million to fix this building. Now, we need another $30 million to fix what the government came in and said, hey, you need to fix X, Y, and Z. You haven't addressed these issues, and you got to have them done by bang, bang, bang. A short timeline because safety is a concern. And so what they do is they come in and say, hey, listen, over the next year, we're going to have to get $200,000 from every single person that lives in this building. Like this is what's happening with a lot of people that live in like the 1980s buildings and older. And and this is what's driving a lot of people out. Many people that moved into these condos in the 80s and the 90s, they're on fixed incomes. They're much older now. They're in their 60s, they're in their 70s, and they're on a fixed income. They can't come up with hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they're having to sell their condos at a discounted price for people to come in and buy them. And this is why condos are not moving. Now, if you have a newer condo, let's say like 2015 or 2020 or 2010 and above, yeah, you're going to be good. You're going to be good to go. But anything like 90s, 80s, I'd say even early 2000s, you're going to be just fine. The building codes and everything have changed, but I would not buy a condo in the 80s or the 90s just for the assessments alone. And they're large assessments. Some people are having to come out with like, whenever you sell a condo, sometimes you're having to come up with like hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your sale. So let's say you bought a condo for 1.2 million and you sell it for 5 million. They're going to say, hey, listen, on the sale of this condo and the transfer of ownership, you're going to have to pay $250,000 or $350,000 on the sale back to the condo association. That's coming out of your profits. And those are large, it's a large amount of money.
That's definitely important to know if you're thinking about buying a condo. Because I didn't know about any of those things because I thought like, okay, we're getting ready to be empty nesters. We got 2 years left with our kid at the house and maybe like a condo would be good for us. And
lock and go.
You were like, I don't know.
Yeah,
about that.
The resale, there's no differentiating factor too now. Like you've got a pool, you've got a bar, you've got all this stuff. Every
now
place
the
is
newer
the same.
ones are nice. Like some of these newer buildings that are going up are like really, really, really like New York style. Like condos.
Yeah, absolutely. They're super nice, but the problem is the same exact thing. They're all the same on the inside. They're all really nice, and they're all like just rows across from each other. 100 feet down, 300 feet down, you've got the next building. 800 feet down, you got the next building. I mean, they're all the same. And, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot, but they are nice. I'll agree with you on that. They're just sitting.
There's some that are really nice.
Yeah, if you're going to hold on to it for a while, you're good to go. I will say this. There's a guy, an economist, he said in an article, he said anything by the year 2050, he said anything that's 1980s or older will be torn down. Eventually, it will become cost prohibitive for the individuals that bought those a long time ago to be able to sell them and offset the assessment costs. And the people buying them, it won't be worth it economically to them. And this is me getting into the weeds, but I think you need to know this. So people are going to come in, large, I guess, say maybe BlackRock, private equity firms will come in and buy these buildings and tear them all the way down. And they may buy multiple buildings on the beachfront and then build a huge palace there of brand new
That's what
condos.
I was thinking.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
why
what's
are
gonna
some of
happen.
these old buildings even still here? Because they have to be completely remodeled and they're not up to the construction standards. And a lot of them take up a lot of space on a piece of land where they could actually maximize and have a bigger, condo building there, which, that's, of course, you got more people and it gets more crowded and there's other things that come with that. But especially up where we're at near like Jupiter and Juno Beach, like those condo buildings there are really old, and
those things are crusty old.
I wouldn't buy
Crusty
those.
old. I mean, you can tap the side of the building and dust is going to come. Concrete dust just comes off those. Those things are old. Stay away from that garbage. Anyway, by the way, shout out to you.
Unless it's one of Jason's listings.
Yeah, unless it's one of my listings.
Then I'm sure it's fantastic and you should buy it. So
Yes, absolutely, indeed. So let's jump to townhouses. I was talking earlier. Townhouses, I think, are a great investment. They're like a condo, but you own it, right? You own the condo too, but the townhouse is typically going to be on ground floor level. It's going to be closer, maybe 1 to 3 levels. So in the state of Florida, you can't build higher than 35 feet across the entire state. After that, it's considered a commercial building. Just so that you know. So most townhouses are going to be 35 feet and lower. Ours, where we live currently, is a new build construction. It's 10-foot floors. So it's 3 floors. So it's about 30 feet and the roof is about 5 feet. So it's just shy. I guarantee you they're coming in at 34 feet, 10 and a half inches on the build.
something to consider, though, is if you're moving into retirement age, a townhouse might not be the best bet for you because of the stairs.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. A house, a ranch is probably going to be better if you're, getting on up there, or you have parents that are moving in with you. That's been a consideration for us because right now my grandmother is living with my mom and I really would like for them to be able to come visit. And we do have the space for them to stay, but there's so many stairs. It makes me very nervous to have my Nana come and stay with us because there's so many stairs.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind too. I think a lot of people don't think of that actually.
Yeah, so whenever you're exactly right. Whenever people reach out to me, like, "Hey, look, I would totally buy a townhouse, but I don't want all the stairs." And more people that I'm talking to that are looking to move down here, they single story only, don't want to deal with stairs because they're older. They got bad knees, bad whatever it may be. Like, I don't want to deal with that. So, yeah, you're absolutely right on that. So, and like we said, space is a premium here. So if you're wanting a single family home, which I'm going to talk about next, it's definitely going to cost a little bit more. But you're going to get more for your money because a single family home here is desirable. So, for instance, a single family home here, I'm going to say in the Palm Beach Gardens area is going to be a decent one that you would want to move in that you wouldn't need to renovate. It's going to be about $1.3 million and up. That's about the starting point of where they're at. That's just where we're at.
Give or take. Just depends on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Luck at the draw.
Yeah. So if you want to be close to the beach, it's going to be $1.3 million, and it's going to be renovated, but it's going to be like 1,200 square foot. If you're west of 95, like I opened up this entire podcast with, and you're out there a little bit, 1.3 million is going to get you like 1,800 square foot brand new construction, but you are far away from the beach. We're talking 30, 40 minutes away.
Probably a lot more yard too, bigger lot.
Yeah, you're going to get a bigger lot too. So like the average lot closer to the beach is about 8,000 square foot lot, and then so you're going to have 1,200 square foot home, 2-car garage. The house, by the way, closer to the beach is going to be older because this area was populated. If you think about population trends, people populated along the beach first because that's where the first roads went through, US 1, things like that. And then they ventured off, and as they got bigger, they allotted for more space.
They went closer to the swamp.
Yeah, there you go. You're going to be out in that swamp. That's all I'm saying. I mean, they're building entire communities out in the swamp, like Avenir, brand new community, beautiful property. You're in the middle of a swamp. There's nothing beachy about it, but they got all those palm trees out there. But it's still a great community. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying if you want to be
out
yeah,
there,
it's
though.
very, very far out there. And We're going to talk about the seasons, but proximity to all the stuff, you need to consider, like if I want to go to a golf course, if I want to go to the beach, in season, the population inside the state swells about 35 to 40%. I mean, it's a lot of people that come here during in season.
Oh, that's another thing to know too. Do you have that on the list of things to talk about?
No, but I'm talking about that right now. So like if you want, So what's a 10-minute drive will turn into like a 30-minute drive, like every time. Like it's a lot. I'm not going to lie because everybody wants to be here. Nobody wants to be in snow. So anyway, back to the
No, I think it's important to talk about season because that's something we didn't understand before we moved here.
All right.
You know, like that's something that you need to be aware of is that in the summer, it's going to be great. The traffic's going to be pretty good. It's going to be hot as hell. But once October rolls around, it's like you said, the population increases, the traffic swells, there's people everywhere. Like all the New Yorkers are here. So it's like honk, honk, honk.
Yes.
Like sorry, my throat. Woo.
Yeah.
It gets wild. So season runs from about October through really technically May, but around March is when people kind of start, they'll start leaving and going back up to wherever they came from. Usually it's going to be New York, New Jersey, New England area.
Yeah, I will say that if you've got a very, you get offended by people in traffic, let me explain something to you. When season's here because the light will literally turn green, and before you can put your foot down on the gas, like you're going to get a buzz, like you're going to get buzzed. They're going to be, and it's the season's about to start. That's just how it is.
But that's something to be aware of before you move here is to understand the season. And it was the opposite for us where we lived in the mountains because where we lived in a tourist town there, it was popular in the summer months.
Yeah.
So winter months were dead, and then summer was like you were pulling your hair out. So that's important to keep in mind and just to be aware of anywhere down in South Florida that you move, you're going to be affected by season. But season is also, if you have a local business, that's the time when all of the local businesses make their money, especially like restaurants, bars, hotels,
barbershops,
Airbnbs. It's going to be during season.
Yeah, in season can explode an Airbnb from going like $200 a night to $1,500 a night. Like it's insane. But you got to hold on to that money. So let's talk about construction. So this is the one thing that this goes along with taxes and insurance. So people always talk to me about how expensive Florida real estate is. They're built better. Like that's the best thing I can tell you. I've lived in Alabama. I've lived in Colorado. I've lived in Ohio. Those are all stick-built homes, meaning they're built with lumber. It's a concrete slab foundation. It's built with lumber, and you have a shingled roof on top. That's not going to work here in Florida. That does not work in hurricane force winds of an F5. Maybe that's a tornado I'm thinking about, but it's like it's category.
We get those too.
Category. Yeah, we get those too. Category 5. So the homes here are built with concrete block construction. This is a cinder block. Now follow me here.
Now this is new construction. No, this is not older homes.
This is like 2005 and up, right? So it's concrete block, meaning that it's a cinder block from Lowe's or Home Depot. They take that thing and they fill it up with concrete in the middle, and they stab rebar that's about as thick as my thumb, so I'd say about 3/4 inch down into all the way through the house. Now, this reinforces the property. Like it can stop, I would say, I'm not going to say it can stop a car flying through the air at 300 miles an hour, but your average home can withstand about 180 mile an hour winds. That's what a Cat 5 gets up to. But here's the thing that makes a Florida house a little bit different. You've got concrete roof on top of most of the homes. Shingles doesn't really exist here because that just gets blown off like toilet paper in the wind. Like what's happened here is like you have a concrete walls, you have a concrete floor, you have concrete walls, and you have a concrete roof. These roofs last about, and this is the number one question I get, how old is the roof? How old is the roof? How old is the roof? Because that's going to predicate what your insurance costs are. Insurance here is, I'm not going to hide it, it's a little bit higher than normal. Like I'd say $8,500 a year for a new construction home of about 15 to 2,500 square foot is going to be about $8,500. I could be high, I could be low. It just depends if somebody in the neighborhood has had an insurance claim. Like it's crazy how they do that, but that's about your average of what you're going to experience here. But you want to buy a house that's concrete block construction. And please note, and I don't know why agents do this, and this is something that I want to personally change within the industry. An average individual does not have access to the MLS. Inside the MLS, I'm giving you some of the back stuff here. I'm pulling back the curtain here. In the MLS, they have a thing called broker's notes, and you can also see the construction standards of how a house is built. You can hide these facts on the Zillow, so you can't see them as the general public, but I can. If you find a house in South Florida that appears to be cheaper than all the rest in our surrounding area, there's a very good chance it was stick built, meaning it was built with just lumber. And it's important to understand that that is really hard to get insurance. I'm not saying it's not, you can't get insurance, but your insurance is going to be much higher. Like we're saying 12,000, 15,000, and 10,000. It's going to be higher than your normal.
Well, it's more than insurance. It's like you have safety concerns.
Correct.
There.
That's
You're
where I
raising
was going
your family
next.
there. A tornado comes along,
Yep,
like you're dead as a doornail.
Correct. That's where I was going next. Is like your personal safety becomes an issue there. So it's just gonna a stick built house can take about Cat 2, and that's it. Like now you're like, oh my God, I would never live in something like that, of course. Now, these homes have survived over the years, but they stopped building these right around 1983, 1984, when the government came in and they had changed the building code. Said, hey, look, you got to start building these with concrete block construction. They built some after that, but the majority of them after 1990, you're going to find a concrete block construction. Do not buy anything stick built. It's hidden on the MLS most of the time of what it is. So make sure if you're looking at a property that appears to be, oh my God, honey, everything else in the area is $889,000. This is $675,000. Let's get it. That's the reason why. You probably can't see it, but make sure to ask the agent. If you're not working with somebody, you can work with me, Jason Rash, on all the Instagram and social media platforms, or reach out to me, 513-903-6685. Feel free to shoot me a text. I will find out for you if that home is safe enough for your family to live in. Now, let's talk about a couple of different things that most people don't know as well. If you're a golfer, and if you're a golfer, let me know. Come to my social media and say, hey, I'm a golfer. Help me find a home in Palm Beach, Jason. I will help you find a home in Palm Beach. And if you're a golfer, come to my podcast review. I would love a 5-star review from you, and I'd love to know how good your game is because I would love to play with you. I'm always looking to jump into a game. Now, here's the thing. With golf memberships and stuff like that, you've got certain requirements. Now, inside, like this is a full-time job keeping up with these because they're all different. Some of the courses range from mandatory membership, meaning that if you buy a house in this gated community, you are required to purchase the membership. Some of the memberships are $300,000. Some are $500,000, one-time fee. Some of them are $200,000. And I think the cheapest one that's mandatory is about $130,000. That's from the jump. So you're going to put that right on top of your purchase price. If you buy a house for like $700,000, you're going to pay that $130,000 on top, and you cannot roll that into a loan. And by the way, most of the people that come down here, they do pay cash, but for people that do finance homes on the golf course, you can do that too. So by the way, some communities are not going to allow you to do that. Like you have to pay cash for a property. You can, like in Admirals Cove, you can't even buy a home with a bank. Like you have to do it in cash. They will not take a loan from the bank, but we'll talk about all that here in a minute. It's different down here. It's a little different. These are the things that people don't know. But if you buy inside a golf course community, just know that you're going to have to pay large membership equitable dues. Like that comes out, and then you're going to have to pay a yearly fee on top of that. This is not HOA. This is on top. For most places, about $25,000. And you have to spend a certain amount of money with the clubhouse too. Like if you don't spend a certain amount, then you're fined it, or then you got to spend it by the end of the year. Like it's crazy how, I'm going to say not how much it takes to live down here, but it does cost a considerable amount of money to live in this area. Additionally, with the golfing communities, someone will let you ride your own golf cart. I have a lot of people that reach out to me like, I want to drive my own golf cart on the golf course. Some will let you do that, others will not, and it's non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable. So you can argue all you want to their face. They'll be like, listen, if that's how you're going to be, you cannot live in this neighborhood. They're not going to let you do it. They'll say, nope, you cannot come onto the golf course. Just throwing that out there. That's how they roll. So just know your levels of membership. Know that some of them all of them are mandatory except for PGA, and it's also the cheapest. PGA is $265,000 currently at this time of this recording, January 23rd, 2025. Know that that's what it's going to take if you want to get full golf. And last thing, I want to leave you with this. If you go into a golfing community that is highly desirable, we're talking about Ballin Islands, we're talking about Admirals Cove, we're talking about Bears Club, we're talking about Frenchman's Creek, we're talking about all the players in the space that are high levels. Know that there are multiple membership levels. If you see a house in the neighborhood that is cheaper for a reason, and listen very close to what I'm about to tell you. That house, more than likely, does not have what's called the full golf or premium golf membership. It only has...
So they transfer with the houses? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Like the memberships transfer with the homes?
Yes, not the property owner. That's
Okay.
correct. So if you're going to Mirasol, for instance, and you see a house that needs a full renovation, and it's $3.5 million, and you're like, Jesus Christ, and you see another one that's like been fully renovated, and it's the same comparable with a pool, same square footage, and it's like $1 million less, chances are one has full golf and one does not. And I guarantee you the one that is not will sit for a very long period of time. But here's what you don't know In the background, they tell you they have a wait list, and this is all the clubs. Listen very close. This is where a lot of people get taken to the woodshed. They have what's called a wait list. Then you may be able to buy a sports membership, or it's called a racket membership, or whatever. It's anything but golf, meaning that you cannot access a tee box whenever you want to. Full golf, say, hey, you can call them up 30 minutes. Hey, me and 4 guys want to get on the golf course and want to go today, and we want to go in 30 minutes. Cool, done, boom, let's go, Mr. Smith. You're ready to go on the course. They're going to be right there waiting. They're going to have everything ready for you to go. But if you don't have full golf, you may have to wait a day or 3. You may have to do all this jump through hoops. It's going to cost you more every time that you play. But here's what they don't tell you. They tell you there's a wait list, but the wait list is like 9 to 15 years long, number one. Number two, understand that when they cut up that community, if they have like 1,000 homes in that community, 700 homes in that community, or maybe 600 homes, have the full golf, and the other part of it does not. What they do is they slowly drip it out. It may be that they only drip out 1 or 2 homes a year or every 24 months, and they can roll it back and push it to whenever they want. So you may not be able to get that full golf access membership your entire life. You could live there for 40 years and never get it. So just understand that if you buy a home that looks great in a premier golfing community, we're talking about Mirasol, Frenchman's Creek, Ballin Islands, all the names that you Google, just know that if you see a home, that it might not have full golf, and you're not going to be able to see that unless it's explicitly stated.
That sounds like a whole episode. We have so much more to cover, though, in the next 10 minutes. You're like, and the last thing I'm going to leave you with, I'm like, bro, we still have like a lot more to
we can come
talk
back
about.
We can come back to part 2. Can I go to the exposure of homes? Because this is another thing.
That's super important.
This will stop a deal dead in its tracks. And I didn't know this coming into South Florida.
Well, because we didn't live anywhere where you had a pool before. Like you didn't have a pool in Ohio or Colorado. So like it wasn't even something that we ever thought about. It wasn't on our mind.
Yeah, it's really cold, those areas. So here's the thing. If you're going to buy a house, and I've seen this stop a deal from a $6 million house to an $8 million house to $3 million homes, this will stop the deal. This will kill the deal for anybody that knows what they're doing. Make sure you buy a property where the rear facing exposure, that means when you walk out the back door into your backyard, is either south facing or west facing. Because what happens is, if you have a north facing and you walk out your back door and it's facing to the north, like it's going up the seaboard, you're facing north, you're going to be in the shade all of winter. Like that pool is going to be in the shade unless it's considerably far enough away from the house, because the angles of the sun matter. I've been walking through and showing my wife in our neighborhood. We live in Alton, which is an incredible community. Like I love this neighborhood. I don't think I'll ever leave. But my wife was like, we're going to buy a house in this community. And she's like, I love this house over here. And I was like, no, I wouldn't buy that house for the XYZ. And how has that been? How's the learning been so far?
I found that there's like 5 homes in the community that we can buy. I'm just kidding. I'm like, we need to pull out the map and you can start cold calling when we're finally ready to buy. But it really does make a difference, because there was a house that I did open houses in with you for over a year. And that was the biggest reason I think it wasn't selling. It was a very like nice multi-million-dollar home, but the pool was in the shade, and that was a problem, especially for someone that was paying that much money. It's like you wanted to be on the other side of the road. Like people move to Florida for the sunshine, so you want to be able to get in the sunshine. So that's important. It's going to be south or west facing, which was easy for me to remember. Southwest Airlines.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Hey, dope. So, I like it. I never thought of it like that.
Southwest.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah. So then we're going to move. You want to talk about taxes, or you want to talk about associations?
I don't want to talk about either. I'm going to let you talk about that.
All right.
How about that?
So the thing about this, I'm going to get nerdy here, because this is one of the biggest.
You have to make it quick. We only have like 7 minutes to go.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about taxes real quick. So whenever, would you say, Christian? Yeah, all right. He can always add.
He'll be very long-winded.
No, it's okay.
It's 7 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to try to get this in. So taxes in Palm Beach County. Taxes are like you have to think about it. Whenever you move to Florida, and this is what a guy told me the other day, and I was like, oh my God, he articulated it perfectly. He said to me, whenever I bought houses all over the country, taxes have never really been an issue. Like they've always been a non-issue, but like in Florida, you have to actually account for taxes. So like we're looking at a $5.7 million home on Tuesday. It's a new construction house. Him and his wife are coming in, and he was like, what's the taxes on that? So I'm going to tell you right now. It's from the purchase price, okay? So it doesn't matter what somebody else paid for it and what the property taxes say on Zillow. Like Zillow is always wrong on so many things. On the Zestimate, on the taxes, on the HOA, on the amount of the mortgage, like what you're going to pay, because everybody looks at like the mortgage refinance. I'm telling you, the taxes right now, in Palm Beach County if you just do 1.85% of the total purchase price. That means what are you going to pay for this house? So whatever the taxes say, if they're like $15,000 and they bought that land for like $1.1 million, I can guarantee you for a fact it is not going to be $15,000 a year. So on the guy asked me, he said, what are the taxes on this $5.7 million home? I literally just took the purchase price that's listed right now. I said, well, if we go by this purchase price and you buy it at this price, I multiplied the total purchase price by 1.85%. It gave me $106,000 a year. A year. I know that some of you right now are quaking in your boots like, oh my God, $106,000 a year for property taxes? It's on the water. There's apparently an email went out to everybody in the world that there's only so much limited waterfront property in the state of Florida. Granted, there's millions of them, but it does have a finite number. And here's the thing. The taxes on the water are a little bit higher. So I count for the 1.85%. So just so you know, it's assessed at purchase price. Whatever you pay for that house, that's what it's going to be. Like if you pay $4 million times 1.85%, that's your thing. Now here's the thing. In Florida, they have a thing called homestead. Thank God. Like the taxes can only go up if you are living there 186 days or more out of the year. You can homestead your property, meaning that the taxes will only go up no more than 3%. Most of the time it's around 1% because the government doesn't want to push everybody out. Believe it or not, what my wife says about conspiracies, I'm telling you, the state of Florida loves their people that have been there since the 80s.
I was talking about California, not Florida.
I know that.
I'm not sure what you mean.
I know that, but she's always about governments trying to push people out. I don't know if DeSantis is part of that whole regime. But anyway, I digress. But what I'm going with this entire thing is that the state of Florida has proactively gone in and said, hey, we do not want our senior citizens, the bulk of the people that are in the community that are 55 and up that live on fixed incomes, we do not want them moving out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to enact a homestead act that will not increase your property taxes. If you claim homestead on this property, it will be no more than 3% per year. So that just to let you know, they do have a little heart. So that's how you figure out taxes. I want to talk about associations, and then we'll. Do you want to part two this thing, or do you want me to just roll through it? I think
you're almost done.
Okay.
I don't know if you have enough for a part two now.
All right, we're just gonna roll through it. So. You have different associations that come along with these communities in Florida. Florida is very, how should I put this? They're like a hovering parent. They want you to use
like how you are with our son who just started driving this past week and you keep texting him a million times about, did you get there? Are you on your way home? And I'm like, bro, just like put the air tag in the car and be done with it.
Shut the think that we were going to tell anybody that. Like he's going to listen to this episode and be like, oh my God, you air tagged me.
He's not going to listen to it.
You're right.
He's for safety.
He's going to be
But no, you're the helicopter parent.
I am.
Listen. We grew up in the 80s and 90s. Our parents had no idea where the hell we were at. Like we were driving hours away.
That's true.
We didn't have cell phones.
That's true.
Like we're that zennial generation.
We were independent.
Gen X.
We were independent.
Millennials. Like we're not fully millennials. We're not fully Gen X. But we went through it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, if you're listening to this podcast, I would love to know those crazy adventures that you guys got into. I mean, like one time I found myself like in an abandoned house. We were jumping off the roof of a church. I mean, we did some of the crazy. I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's amazing I didn't break your bones or get put in jail. I mean, like my parents never asked.
I'm pretty sure you did get put in jail once.
Yeah, a couple times.
That was before I knew you.
Couple times, but we won't talk about that. It was, misguided teen. That's what it was. I didn't have any. But
because our parents were MIA. Where the hell were they in the 80s?
We were those
90s?
latchkey
They were just
kids.
gone.
That's right. I don't even know where they went.
So anyhow, that's how Florida is.
Yeah.
Florida's the helicopter parent.
Florida is a helicopter parent of your property, meaning that they love it that you move here, and they will keep this land safe with all the property taxes, but they want to make sure that they know how you're going to use this property. So they have enacted POAs, which are property owner associations. In some of these communities, they have POAs, COAs, HOAs. And I'm going to talk about those in just a minute.
Sounds like a rap song.
Yeah, POAs, HOAs,
you down with
COAs.
HOA? Yeah, you know me.
That's right. I don't know. God, girl, you are old. You are old. Thank God you didn't have a career in rap, or we'd be eating rice.
I hate to tell you, but you're older than me.
Yeah, we'd be eating rice off the side of a street or the back of a restaurant with your rap career skills.
Well, I'm better than you, so Mr. Musician.
That's right. So anyway, but a lot of these communities, if you don't even live in a community, that some associations are still out there. So I'll give you an example. So obviously, clearly with the very high-end golf communities, they have POAs, which is over the entire community. And inside the large communities, you have smaller communities that have HOAs. I know this may sound a little crazy, but just bear with me. And COA is a condo association. Christian, can I get some water over there, please, sir? And you have a condo association. What that condo association does is they basically set the bylaws and the rules of how you and the governing bodies of how you're able to use the property and leverage the property. Obviously, if you live in HOA, you know the rules are like you can't paint your house purple or something like that, or leave junked up cars out in the parking lot, out in the garage.
But there are benefits to HOAs because it makes your neighborhood look nice. Like we did a whole episode on Alta in the neighborhood where we live, and I love that it looks like a Disney community. Like no one's yard or lawn is overgrown. There's no junked up cars parked outside. Like they're strict about things.
Yeah, they will come in and put the hammer down. Like a hammer. We had a neighbor that had a car that was on a cover with a cover over it, and they came in, they put the hammer down. It's like either you sell it or you move it, and you got 2 days to do it. You have 48 hours or hauling it off. They were like done with it. So, you know, those things do play a role, but I want you to know that there are multiple certifications when it comes to not certifications. There are multiple associations when it comes to living in these communities. Now, one thing I do want to point out, if you do want to do an Airbnb, there are communities that do allow Airbnbs, but understand that, like, for instance, I'll use Singer Island. Singer Island's a very sleepy town. We're talking about the single family side of it only. You can Google Singer Island. You have condo side and you have finger canals that run out. So what they just enacted, just literally in May of last year, they said, listen, you can do Airbnbs here. And everybody's like, oh my God, we're going to make so much money. Understand, like in season, these properties going around for like $25,000 a month. And this is a 1965, 1,700 square foot home that looks like it hadn't been updated in years. Like these things rent out and they make a lot of money, but there's a trick. The catch now is that you have to own the home for 2 years before you can turn it into an Airbnb. So there are communities going in there and they're changing stuff. Like we're not fully against Airbnb. We're not 100% for it. So just make sure that whenever you buy a home, you have somebody like myself who knows what the hell's going on inside the community. Many people don't know that. And unfortunately, there are some people out there that talk other investors into deals, and they don't fully, disclose all the stuff, or they're not up to date. I've had that happen before where they're not up to date on whatever the HOAs are. So know that. And last thing I want to leave you with as far as associations, there's one sneaky thing called a capital contribution. And what this is a way for the HOA to get a pump of money at the close. So let's say I bought a property. Let's say we bought a property for $1 million in a community, and then 2 years later we want to sell and you want to come in and buy this property. If you want to buy this property, you're going to buy it for X, but on top of that, you're still going to pay the $500 a month HOA. But on top of that, you are going to pay what's called a one-time capital contribution at close, meaning the association knows that you're already paying a lot of money. They already know that you're moving a lot of money, and they need more money in their funds to be able to run the HOA. I don't think that that's true all the time, but I digress. Anyway, you're going to come in and you're going to pay a one-time $5,000 contribution. This does not absolve you from paying HOA for a year. This is just in addition to. So just know that. That's going to happen too. And make sure you ask your realtor or your sales professional like myself, hey, is there a capital contribution associated with the purchase of this property? Like I said, if you're buying property in South Florida, it is in depth and it's intense. This is not like buying property in Montgomery, Alabama. Like, hey, listen, it's just like trading a piece of land. This is far more complex, and you've got to be savvy. You got to think like on your feet. If you're going to sell real estate down here, you have to know all this stuff. So on to the taxes. I've talked about the insurance. I've talked about associations. I do need to dive into insurance. I'm going to tell you the hack on this. Now we're going to talk about that one thing that everyone that moves to South Florida wants to know: insurance. Like, has the insurance, like if you listen to anything like Fox News or you're tuning into your stocks that always talks about insurance carriers have left Florida. Listen, that is not true. It is true on some level, but it's not like California. Here's the thing. If you want great insurance costs, because you do got to consider it, buy the newest construction that you can possibly buy. The newer you buy, the cheaper your insurance becomes. Like, that's about the simplest way that I can do it. Like, if you're going to buy something that needs renovation, just know that that whole time during the renovation, the insurance is going to be a little bit higher. And here's the thing. The building codes and building standards have changed, so there might be something like wind mitigation up in your roof that you're not able to actually go out in there and retroactively fix. And so you're going to get dinged an extra $200, $300 a month just because, XYZ is there, right? So you need to make sure that you're buying the newest. up-to-date standards. Also, whenever you're buying the insurance, concrete block construction, like I said, no stick-built, concrete roof, no shingle or asphalt because that blows away like toilet paper in the wind. But you want to make sure you have hurricane impact glass. That is a huge difference maker. And when it comes to like regular glass that you find at your grandma's house up in South Carolina, that ain't going to fly. The insurance companies will be like, no dog. I want something that's going to stop. I ain't going to say a bullet, but I'm going to say a BB bullet. It's going to stop a BB gun. It ain't going to come through that window. And it's like you could throw a rock at it and you're not going to get through it. I was actually working with a builder, Brooke. I told you this, may have told you this. The impact glass on that window was so thick, you could take an axe to it and you could chop away at it for 30 minutes with an axe and you're not going to get through that glass. Like, it was insane. I'm not going to say it's going to stop a bullet, but it might stop a BB bullet. I don't know, a BB gun. There is that. But buy the newest construction that you can. All of it varies widely. Townhouses have the cheapest insurance because they're sharing the cost of the roof. Always remember that. Townhouses are cheaper. Like, for instance, a single family home is going to be about $8,500 for 1,500 square foot to 2,500 square foot from 217 on newer. But a townhouse is like $3,100 because they're sharing the load of the roof. It's shared across all of the entire community. But again, the roof is the biggest thing with wind mitigation. I told you I was going to get deep and nerdy into this episode, but that's how I roll. I want you to have all the information, and maybe I'm dumping too much on you or not. But if you wanted to buy a turnkey or a reno, this is the next question that I get from a lot of people when they want to move down here. And they pick about their location. They're like, hey, I want golf view or I want water view. It's like, okay, do you want to do a turnkey property or do you want a renovation? Most people that are moving down here are older and they've done enough renovations in their life, but there's plenty of properties out here that could use a renovation. Some of them look, I'm like, man, you're going to buy that for that? I wouldn't, but go ahead. Anyway, you got to decide that. The holding costs on those are going to go up, but a lot of people that are moving to South Florida, Brooke, they want a vacation. They think of South Florida as a vacation. So you need to know that going into it. And you also need to be working with somebody who's got a crew of people or know somebody who's got a crew of people that can come in and get that job done. Like, for instance, hurricane impact glass. A lot of people are like, oh my God, that's going to be a fortune. I know some people that own hurricane impact glass companies. They're giving me a 40% discount. Like, I'm going to pass that on to you. If you come in and work with me, I'll hook you up with my guy. So, for a 1,900 square foot, 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, it's going to be like $35,000 for sliders of the glass slider doors and the windows. And that's about 18 windows.
That's the thing about working with Jason, and he is a connector. He's a people person. He's got the network in his back pocket. Like, he meets people at Starbucks. Yeah. Like, you meet people everywhere that you go. So you're definitely going to bring a lot of value to your clients. You're going to make sure that they're walking into something that's, number one, good for them, but that they have everything in place that they need to have in place, like your Airbnb deal that you did, or your other Airbnb deal that you did. I think it needed windows and you got that set up. Yeah. So you always go the extra mile, and I love that about you.
Thanks. I mean, it's a full service stop. So last thing that I do want to say.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's it right there. Okay, we snuck that in. Let's go. I mean, there's always a way to sexualize real estate. Why not? I mean, Florida real estate, by the way, is sexy, is it not?
Before we started back on this part 2, you were like, should I take my shirt off? And I was like, why are you taking your shirt off?
Because I'm sweating up in
I
here.
think we could probably get a lot of views on the podcast if you take your shirt off, for sure. You're in great shape for 50.
For 50? Whoa, hold up. Look, I'll be 48 this year. Look, there's not a wrinkle on this face. Let's go.
It's all the good skincare that you're using.
It's all the water.
If you don't know, we have an anti-aging business. We sell anti-aging products. So
there you go. Had to pump that in there. I love it. But let's be real. South Florida.
We've made millions of dollars doing it. That's how we invested in real estate, and that's how Jason got into real estate, actually, was through the anti-aging movement. So,
what a journey. What a journey, man. Life is like whoever thought that we'd be here, right? Like South Florida, thank God we're not selling real estate in Brownsville, Colorado. Like everything up there is like old, it's crusty, it's dead like 90% of the year. Like all of the vegetation's dead. There's no grass. It doesn't even look sexy.
I think the biggest thing that people should know about moving to South Florida, and this is totally off script, is that when you move here, you are moving to a melting pot. Like, it's truly a melting pot. That not only are people here from all over the country. Yes, there's a large majority of people that are coming from, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, New England, up in the northeast part of the country. But you have people from all over the country and all over the world. Like, I'm meeting so many people that are immigrants from other countries, like everywhere. And a large percentage of these people are very entrepreneurial. And if they're not entrepreneurial, they have maybe a job or a career that maybe they're a CEO or it's a little bit more of an outside of the box. And for Jason and I, he's like, get closer to the mic, just put your mouth on it.
There you go. Hock to it, that thing.
Talking about sexualizing the show. Okay. So for Jason and I would say, listen, we were born and raised in Alabama, lived there first 30-ish years of our life. We left there in 2011. We moved to Ohio because he had a job there, left that job, moved to Colorado, lived there, thought, okay, this is going to be the place for us. We never felt like we were at home. We never felt like we fit in. Like we always felt like outsiders. And if you're still in your hometown, I'm going to encourage you to get out of your hometown. Like this is a little off topic, but just get out of your hometown. That's how you're going to grow. But we just thought that maybe there's just something wrong with us. Like we're never going to fit in with people anywhere until we got to South Florida. And we were like, okay, this is it, because there's action here. There's things happening here. Like I said, we live up in Palm Beach Gardens, closer to Jupiter, where it's a little bit sleepier, but we're close enough to the action. Like down here today, we're recording in Boca, and tomorrow we'll be in Miami for my business down there. If there's something that comes up, there's like always like conferences and events. There's a lot of things happening. This is a place that people move to retire, but there's still a lot of business happening here. So if you're entrepreneurial, I think you'll really love being down here. You're really going to like the vibe and just meeting so many people and hearing their stories, and the diversity is just insane. Like there's just so much diversity here.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So I think that's important to know.
I think absolutely it is.
One of the reasons I kept getting asked, like, how come not the Panhandle? Destin's so beautiful. Like, you're from Alabama.
That's still Alabama.
I'm like, first of all, it's lower Alabama.
It's still
and way
Alabama.
Too close to family, side note. But also it still gets cold there. They just had snow. Which
7
is
inches. 7 inches of snow.
Which
You
is
think it's
insane.
ever going to snow 7 inches here? Doubt it. But it must
that's
be all
not
that
even the
global
biggest
warming.
thing. Like, that's not even the biggest thing. The biggest thing for me was, like, I know the mindset there, it's not the same as down here. Down here, there's movers, there's shakers, there's people doing things. It's entrepreneurial. I knew we were never going to meet the kind of people we wanted to meet living in or around, like, Destin, Florida, Pensacola, Florida. Yes, the beaches are beautiful, but that wasn't like the full reason that we, moved to Florida. So you have to think about where you're at in your life and what's important to you. And that's what I love personally about being down in Southeast Florida, is that it is chill enough in certain places where you can relax, but there's still so much going on, and you're going to meet a lot of really cool people who will have very similar mindsets. So they're professionals. If they're not entrepreneurial, like they're doctors, they're attorneys, they're high net worth individuals.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that we've met down here, like they're hustling, they're building something. It's super.
Or they did at one point in their life. Like one of our neighbors, I won't say what company it was that he started, but it was a big company that you would know.
Oakley's biggest competitor, Oakley Sunglasses' biggest competitor.
You probably have purchased from this company at some point in
You've heard
time.
of it.
So not actively in the hustle anymore, but at one point built something really big. So we've been able to make some really cool connections here, and that's been like the biggest selling point for me, aside from the sun, the lack of snow, the beach,
I have to agree.
the lack of snow.
But the lack of snow. Do you want to say it again? The lack of snow.
I really don't like snow.
Yeah,
in cold weather.
I'm
It's because
over it.
I don't feel good in cold weather, personally. I'm telling you, it affects how you feel.
Yeah,
I look better with a tan. Okay, like I look better.
I second that. There ain't nothing like you looking good with a tan. I like that.
So jump back into the rest of the content, because I know we have a few more minutes here, and you have a few more things that you have to cover outside of insurance.
Yeah. So no, that's great. Everything you brought up is great. I do want to cover about rentals, because obviously we're investors of our own. So I get the question a lot. Like people like, hey, I'm looking for a rental. I'm looking for XYZ. Understand, number one, long-term rentals down here, where we're at currently in the real estate market, is challenging. Like, it's super challenging. The cost of money, trying to get a loan, challenging. Like 7%, 8%, 7.5%. It's going to be very hard to make something work, especially if you're up against high property taxes, higher than average property taxes, and you're up against insurance costs. I'm just saying, long-term rentals are very challenging down here. However, Airbnbs can be lucrative. Airbnbs can make some serious money in season. Some people, so they do midterms, they do long-term. Some people just rent properties for in season. So they'll rent the property out from November to the end of March. That could be lucrative. I mean, like a single family home, like I said, will get $15,000 a month if it's in a great area. Some will get $25,000 and above. every single month. And while you may think that that's like super high, which it is compared to the national average, in the summer, it doesn't get that much because it's really hot here in the summertime. The heat doesn't bother me. The cold bothers me, like my wife said. So just make sure that you're getting into an area that's going to allow for Airbnbs. Remember, Boca just had a rule. Like, just remember West Palm, Deerfield Beach, West Palm, Deerfield Beach, West Palm, Deerfield Beach. Those are the hot pockets right now for Airbnbs. Last thing I want to leave you with is I want to give you a summary of these two episodes. So I would not buy anything 2017 or older. Personally, I would not buy anything 2017. I know saying that in 2025, you're like, oh my God, it's, houses stand for hundreds of years. They do, but the building codes in Florida change every couple of years. And you want to make sure you're getting the cheapest insurance because insurance could change like that. They could remap the FEMA flood maps just like that. I wouldn't buy anything in a flood zone. I would buy something new with limited availability. As new as possible on limited availability, meaning like on the water or with a waterfront view or with a golf view. Something
or in a community, a desirable community.
Yeah, something in a desirable community with only limited lots. Now, it may come to you as a premium, but you'll be able to exit as a premium as well, as the price on those will go up and appreciate faster than something over in Wellington, like on a horse farm or something like that. So it's important to understand where you buy. If you just buy a normal, regular old house on a regular old street, that's fine. But don't expect to get like, hey, I'm going to make $1 million on this house. That may happen in like 50 years. But we're in a market now where, you need to offset your insurance costs. You need to make sure you buy right. That's the whole trick of real estate. By the way, if you're going to ever be an investor, you've got to get the right buy. You can't overpay on the buy for that property. You want to get something with a view, like I stated earlier. The newer, the better, updated codes and all that good stuff. The further south that you go, understand this, the further south that you go, the busier it gets. So Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm Beach on south, the busier it gets. And we spoke about this earlier on the way down here.
And it really would behoove you, as Jason would say, to be bilingual. Like the closer you are to Miami, the more need you are going to have to be able to speak Spanish.
Absolutely. And I had a call from a lady yesterday. She's like, listen, we looked in the Aventura area, the Fort Lauderdale area. She was like, I just don't know Spanish. And she thought all of South Florida, from Jupiter all the way down to Miami, was bilingual, and it's not. It's not. So I would say it really starts at Deerfield Beach. North, you don't need to know Spanish that much. So just throwing that out there. And then, at the end of the day, just buy a house that's south facing west, like my wife said, southwest. Like, just make sure when you walk out your back door, you're facing either south or you're facing west.
If that's important to you. And it will affect the resale too. Like it can affect the resale for sure.
Yeah, you're probably going to resell it cheaper than the house across the street.
Unless they didn't listen to this podcast and they don't know about having the yard in the sun.
There
and
you
just
go.
saying.
That's what people want. So when they think of Florida, at the end of the day, South Florida, I believe, is probably the best place in the world. I've traveled all over the world. South Florida is an incredible place. There's a lot of diversity here. There's a lot of things you need to know. You need to surround yourself with an individual, a real estate sales professional, someone who knows the game intimately in and out that can answer all these questions for you. Because, I've done deals with individuals, and I hate to say it like this, but I have done deals with individuals that didn't know all of their stuff. And I had to account for my buyer. I had to tell my buyer, I accept that responsibility, that I trusted this other individual, the seller's agent. I had trusted the seller's agent to deliver me the correct information. In the end, no one cares. In the end, my buyer had to pay the extra capital contribution fees, which is a couple $1,000. It's not a big deal in the scheme of things, but it didn't make me look good. So make sure, and I learned that lesson. On that, to always back check everybody who's been in the business. And you should do that for your own. At the end of the day, though, hire somebody that knows what they're doing. Hire somebody that knows what they're talking about. Hire somebody that does this full time, because this is not something you're going to be able to do sitting in front of your computer on looking at stuff on the MLS. You got to be out in the field. You got to know the areas. You got to be talking to people. Make sure that whenever you buy real estate in South Florida, you call me. I will be the best agent I hate to use the word agent, I will be the best real estate sales professional that you have ever come across. With prompt communication, I know what I'm talking about because I care about getting you the right product at the right price.
And if you don't know the information, you will find out, because no one knows everything.
Yeah, that's right. And that's exactly right.
You have to be committed to learning. Like, we're still learning this area.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So listen, go out there. Come visit South Florida. February is the best time to visit, but I don't know if you're in the Northeast whenever you hear this and it's snowing, come on down. I'll show you some properties. My name is Jason Rash. You can find me on all social media channels, just Jason Rash, even on the YouTubes, and feel free to give me a call if you want to, and I'll start showing you some properties. Let's go check it out. That's a wrap for this episode, The Game of Real Estate. Remember, this game rewards those who stay in it to win it, and I'm here to keep you ahead of the competition. If you're feeling pumped and ready to make your next big move, hit that follow button so that you never miss an episode. And hey, Don't just listen, share this podcast. Screenshot this episode, post it to the stories, and tag me at Jason Rash. Go ahead and do that now for a repost and a personal shout out. This is the game of real estate where winners are made, deals are closed, and the hustle never stops. I'll see you back on the field next time. Game on. Let's go.